So this is the second video on solving multiple step equations. The first video was about when we had variables only on one side of the equal sign. Today's video is going to be where you have variables on both sides of the equal sign. So if you look, all of this should be familiar. This was in the first video. So as I did in the first video, I'm going to walk through an example here with you as we go through these steps so that you can see it. The first step says to use the distributive property to remove any grouping symbols. So if we look at our example, there are no grouping symbols. And so we don't have to do this step. The step is done for us. Step 2 says to simplify the expression on both sides. Well, remember, you're only needing to simplify if you have more than two terms on one side. So if you look at our example, we don't have more than two terms on one side, so we do not actually have to do this step as well. So this step is done for us. Step 3 says use properties of equality to collect the variable terms on one side of the equation and the constant term on the other side. So remember, that property of equality tells you can add something to both sides, you can subtract something from both sides. You can multiply something from both sides, and you can divide both sides, and it stays equal. And you're going to use your opposite operations. So let's go over and look at that real quick. So here, remember, if we want to undo addition, we're going to actually subtract. If we want to undo subtraction, we're going to actually add. If we want to undo multiplication, then we're going to divide. And if you want to undo division, we're going to multiply. So remember those opposite operations. So coming back to this example, so we do have a variable on both sides. It needs to move. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this problem down near step 3. Negative 4b is equal to 8b plus 48. That's our problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put my little dotted line like I have been doing so that I know when I move across that dotted line, you have to do the opposite operation. This step tells me to move and get the variables on one side. So if I look, my variables are here and here. So I need to move one of those to the other side. My advice is to always move from the side that has two terms. So I'm going to move the 8b. So the 8b is a plus because there's nothing there, so we assume it's a plus. How do we undo a plus 8b? We're going to subtract it. So undo addition is a subtraction. So I get that now. So now I have to simplify that. And so to simplify that, negative 4b minus 8b is a negative 12b. And then these cross out and we're left with a 48. The next step says use properties of equality again to solve for the variable. And again, you're going to do your opposite operations, your inverse operations. So your variable is here. So you have a negative 12 times b. How do you undo something being multiplied? Correct, you're going to divide. So I'm going to divide both of these sides by negative 12. When I do so, this cancels, leaving me with a b. And then 48 divided by negative 12 is a negative 4. And you can type that in your calculator if you need. So negative 4 is my answer to this problem. At least we think. So remember, step 5 says check your solution. You can always check your answers. So what would I do to check my answer here? I would store negative 4. I would store negative 4, so I would do negative 4 store b, and then you would do negative 4b in your calculator, and you're going to get a 16. And then you're going to do 8b plus 48. What are you going to get there? Well, 8 times negative 4 would give you negative 32. Add it to 48, you get 16. So you get 16 equals 16, therefore it checks. And so this would be your answer. Always be able to check your solutions. When you're solving any equation with one variable, you should always be able to check your answer and make sure you got it right. So let's go ahead and do a couple of examples. I'm only going to do 2 with you, and then the rest you have, if you look, you have 4 your turns that you're going to do on your own. So let's go ahead and do these 2. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little line because that just helps me keep organized. And if I look, there's no simplifying because there's both sides only has 2 terms. so I can't simplify anything. Now, my next step is I need to get my variables onto one side. Where are my variables? My variables are here and here. So I need to move one of those to the other side. Because they both have two terms on one side, it doesn't matter which one you take. So I'm going to take the smallest, and the smallest is a -6. So how do I undo a minus 6r? You're going to add 6r to both sides. And when you do, these cancel. You're left with a 41, and that's a plus. If you want to write the plus down, go right ahead. It's probably not a bad habit to get into. Is equal to 7r plus 6r is 13r, and then plus 2. But if I look, I still have two things on one side, so I need to move it to the other side. So I have this 2 here that needs to move. What do you do to move a plus 2? The opposite of plus is a minus, so you're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Positive 41 minus 2 is a 39. And then you still have the 13r here because these here now cancel. Now you do that step 4. Isolate the variable. The variable is here. So how do I undo 13 times r? You're going to divide. So I'm going to divide by 13 on both sides, and I get a 3 is equal to r. Again, check your work. Make sure that's the answer. So again, to remember how to do that, I'm going to write it here. You're going to do 3 store R, and then you're going to hit that enter. Don't forget to hit enter. And then you're going to type -6R plus 41 is 23. Then you're going to type 7R plus 2. 7R plus 2 is going to give you a 23. So you get 23 equals 23. You know you did it right. 3 is equal to R is your answer. Last example that I'm going to do with you, number 2, solve for C. I don't have two things on one side. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line in, but I have a C on one side and a C on the other side. So I need to get those together. So you have a C here and a C here. Since they both have two things on one side, it doesn't matter which side I take from. I'm going to add 9 because to undo a minus, you add. So I'm going to add 9C, add 9C. When I do, these go away, so I have a plus 6 on this side. Over here I have a -78. 9 plus 3 is 12. I need to continue to get the constants together now. So when I do that, I have a 6 here and a -78 here. I need to get together. To undo a negative, I'm going to add 78. So add 78, add 78. And when you do, 6 plus 78 is 84. These cancel, and we're left with a 2, 12C. They cancel because they add up to be 0. Now I need to solve for that C there. So how do I undo 12 times C? 12 times C, I'm going to divide by 12 then, because that's the opposite or the inverse of multiplication. And so these cancel. I'm left with a C, and then 84 divided by 12 is 7. Again, check. So you're going to go 3 store in C. You're going to do a -9C plus 6 on your calculator. So -9C plus 6 should have given you a -57. And then -78 plus 3C. If you do it correctly, you get a -57. So you get a -57 equals a -57. Check. So that is my answer. So I want you to try these 4 examples. Right, this shouldn't be too hard. And we'll start here in class.